July 16th, 1945, New Mexico desert. A group of scientists watch a light brighter than the sun rise from the ground, the first nuclear explosion in human history, and the man who built it whispers something that will echo forever. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Robert Oppenheimer, quoting ancient Hindu scripture in the middle of the New Mexico desert, because in that moment, he understood exactly what he had just created. 3 weeks later, 2 Japanese cities will cease to exist, and the world will never be the same again. This is the story of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. To understand why the bomb was built, you need to understand the panic. It's 1939. Albert Einstein himself writes a letter to President Roosevelt warning that Nazi Germany might be developing nuclear weapons. That's the moment everything changes. Roosevelt launches the Manhattan Project, the most secret and expensive scientific program in American history. $2 billion, which is $26 billion today, 130,000 people working across 30 sites in 3 countries, and almost none of them know what they're actually building. The head scientist is Robert Oppenheimer, theoretical physicist, brilliant, complicated man who genuinely loves poetry and ancient texts, and also just built the most destructive weapon ever created. That's the contradiction at the heart of this story. Los Alamos, New Mexico becomes a secret city that doesn't exist on any map. Thousands of scientists and engineers living behind fences, working on a weapon they hope they never have to use. J. Robert Oppenheimer running a team that includes some of the greatest minds of the 20th century. They know what they're doing. They know the power they're unleashing. Some of them sign petitions asking that it never be used on civilians. Those petitions go nowhere. By 1945, Germany has surrendered. The war in Europe is over, but Japan is still fighting, and Japan will not surrender. The Japanese military code of Bushido means death before surrender. Soldiers fight to the last man. American military planners are preparing Operation Downfall, the land invasion of Japan. Their estimates are terrifying. Between 250,000 and 1 million American casualties, and potentially millions of Japanese dead from the fighting. President Harry Truman inherits this impossible decision just weeks after taking office. FDR died before telling him the Manhattan Project even existed. Truman learns about the atomic bomb and has to decide in days what to do with it. The options are brutal on every side. Continue conventional bombing, which is already killing hundreds of thousands, invade Japan and lose potentially 1 million lives, or use the bomb. One weapon, one city. Force a surrender before the invasion. Truman chooses the bomb. He later says he never lost a night's sleep over it. History will debate that decision forever, but on August 6, 1945, the decision is made. A B-29 bomber named Enola Gay takes off from Tinian Island in the Pacific. August 6, 1945, 8:15 in the morning, Hiroshima, Japan. A city of 350,000 people is waking up. Children are going to school, workers are heading to factories, trams are running. It is a normal Tuesday morning. The air raid sirens sounded earlier, but the all-clear was given. People looked up and saw only one plane, just one. Not a formation, just one B-29 at 31,000 feet. Nobody is worried. At 8:15 and 17 seconds, the Enola Gay releases Little Boy, a uranium bomb. It falls for 43 seconds. 43 seconds of absolute normalcy below. Children in classrooms, mothers making breakfast, doctors starting their shifts. Then the world ends. The explosion happens 600 meters above the city. The fireball reaches temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. Everything within 1 kilometer is instantly vaporized. Not destroyed, vaporized. Gone. The shockwave moves faster than sound. It flattens buildings across kilometers. The thermal pulse sets fire to everything that can burn. People kilometers away are blinded by the flash. Shadows of humans are burned permanently into stone and concrete. 60 to 80,000 people die instantly, in 1 second. Before they can process what is happening, another 60,000 will die in the following months from radiation sickness, burns, injuries. The city of Hiroshima simply stops existing. Survivors called themselves hibakusha. The explosion affected people. Those who survived the initial blast walked through a city that had become hell, helping others who were burned beyond recognition, not knowing that the radiation was already killing them slowly. Japan does not surrender. The military government tells the Japanese people it was a new type of conventional bomb. They do not fully understand what has happened. And so 3 days later, the second bomb is loaded onto a plane called Boxcar, August 9th, 1945. The original target is Kokura, but Kokura is covered in clouds and smoke from a firebombing the day before. The bombardier cannot see the target, so Boxcar turns toward the secondary target. Nagasaki, a city of 250,000 people, is spared by clouds and chosen by clouds on the same day. The randomness of it is almost impossible to process. Kokura survives because of smoke. Nagasaki dies because the sky is clear. At 11:02 a.m., Fat Man, a plutonium bomb more powerful than Little Boy, detonates 500 meters above the city. The hills surrounding Nagasaki actually contain the blast slightly, but it makes almost no difference. 40,000 people die instantly, another 40,000 in the weeks that follow. The hypocenter, the exact point below the explosion, is a neighborhood called Urakami, home to the largest Christian community in Japan. A cathedral that took 30 years to build is destroyed in a fraction of a second. A Japanese physicist named Nishina arrives in Nagasaki days later to investigate and confirms what happened. He walks through the ruins and understands that Japan has no defense against this. Nobody does. August 15th, 1945. Emperor Hirohito broadcasts a message to the Japanese people. It is the first time most of them have ever heard his voice. He announces Japan's surrender, using ancient formal Japanese so complex many cannot understand the words, but they understand what it means. World War II is over. 6 years of global conflict, 70 to 85 million dead total, and it ends with 2 flashes of light over 2 cities in Japan, the most destructive weapon ever used by humans in the history of warfare. The survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki carried the bomb with them for the rest of their lives. Radiation sickness appeared years later in people who seemed fine. Cancer rates rose. Children were born with defects. The hibakusha were often treated as outcasts in Japanese society, feared as contaminated. Setsuko Thurlow was 13 years old in Hiroshima that morning. She survived buried under rubble. She spent the rest of her life speaking about what she saw. She received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017 on behalf of the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Oppenheimer himself lobbied against the development of the hydrogen bomb after the war. He was stripped of his security clearance and called a security risk. The man who built the bomb tried to stop the next one and was destroyed for it. Today, there are still 12,500 nuclear warheads on Earth, distributed among 9 countries, each one many times more powerful than Little Boy or Fat Man. The world Oppenheimer created on July 16, 1945, is still the world we live in. Hiroshima and Nagasaki are not just history. They are a warning that we chose not to repeat. For 80 years, the hibakusha spent their lives making sure we understood what they saw, so we would never see it again. 2 cities, 2 bombs, 200,000 dead, 6 days, the end of a world war, and the beginning of a new kind of fear that we still live with today. Oppenheimer was right. In that desert in New Mexico on July 16, 1945, humanity became death. The question is, whether we're wise enough to stay that way, just a threat, never again a reality. That's Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Remember them.